All right, time to switch gears. Got to put my camper project aside for the rest of the weekend. I promised my sister I would help her deal with this rusted out fender on the GMC that I sold her 3 or 4 years ago. Here in Vermont, if you have rust on a fender, you don't pass inspection. It's dangerous. So I bought some fenders, accidentally bought 2, which is good. And I am going to trim off the rusty part and weld or rivet or both the fender on. So, all right, because all this is in the way, I can't get this piece exactly where I need it to go. So what I'm going to do is first roughly mark it, and then I'm going to cut most of this out and then try again to fit it. Why am I not just drawing a line? Because I don't want to get confused later when I do draw a line for where I plan to cut. Because that's the sort of thing I would do. So why don't I cut? Why don't I cut something like that out? Down here is the part that I'm most worried about. Because I gotta make that join just about perfect. I need to take a break. Getting so tired, I'm gonna start making mistakes. Got a little conundrum right here. This inner piece is still connected to the good piece of metal that I want to keep, but I'm going to want to either bend or flange this piece of metal, so I got to somehow cut that piece off from the inside. Hopefully those other tools that I have will be able to do that. Trying to save that little piece of metal so that if I bend it in a little bit like a flange, I'll be able to drill that piece to it to hold it in place. At least that's what I'm hoping. That should be that. Well, it's Sunday. I overslept. Although, if you always oversleep, is it oversleeping? But I didn't get out of bed until about 10:30. So I'm feeling a little slow. It's one of those days where, because I'm kind of groggy, I'll fuddle and fumble and mess things up. So I'm going to try to take this really, really slowly if I can. So I'm going to be cutting out the inside line. The inside line is 3/8 of an inch inside of the outside line. The outside line is the line that I traced around the fender. I'm doing this because I want to try to use the flanging tool to flange this in so that I can put the piece against it and then screw it in or rivet it in to hold it in place while I weld. I know that the proper way to do this is to trim around the piece and then weld into the gap, but I am so bad right now still at that kind of welding. I burn through so often that I don't want to risk it on this. So at the very minimum, even if I don't weld, I could rivet the piece to this and she can pass inspection. In fact, I'm going to make a prediction that by the time I'm done doing that, my sister's going to say, oh, well, that's fine. Why don't you just leave it like that? Which I'm going to say because I don't like doing things half-assed. I'm doing things quarter-assed because I'm using the flanging tool instead of stitch welding, but half-assed, I draw the line. So I just made my first mistake. Fortunately, it's not a bad one. I started grinding on the inside of this second yellow line, but I need to be cutting on the other side of that line so that when I use the flanging tool, it will flange far enough away. Again, cutting on the wrong side of the line. So it came out pretty good. The flange doesn't go high enough up here, and for the right angles I couldn't get all the way into the right angle. For the 45s it actually works just perfectly. So I'm going to trim off a little bit on the corners here, and right now I'm going to go ahead and try to shave off a little bit here and here, and then reflange up a little higher. That's good. That's good. The flanging process pushed that bottom piece of metal out a little bit, so I'm going to see if I can somehow tip it back in. All right, I'm gonna get a couple of vice grips, a drill, and decide if I'm going to use rivets or screws. What the fuck? Ah, right there. All right, I'm going to try a rivet to see how long it takes to drill the hole for the rivet, and see if that's something that, you know, I want to continue doing, or if I want to just whip it through with the self-tapping screw. I can tell you immediately that I didn't enjoy that. I'm gonna go ahead and like tighten this up and see if it'll actually. You know what? That's not bad. All right, that is the minimum that I need to do so that the truck can be inspected, because now there's no dangerous rust that could rub up against a pedestrian. If you happen to be rubbing your truck up against pedestrians, I guess that's their logic. They're not going to get cut on your rust. It's late in the afternoon on Sunday, so I'm just going to wipe this down, grind a little bit of the rust off here, prime it, and find out if my sister is going to just say, oh, this is fine, just stop here. I don't really, you know, I want to. I've never done a repair where I actually, you know, do the welding, do the bondo. I kind of want to try it, but man, I have so much work to do in my camper. So this may end up getting left just like this. I don't know, we'll see. But I'll definitely stop here, post it, and then if I do come back and start welding and then grinding and then doing the bondo, I'll do another video for that. I think I will go home, work on my meals for the week, have a beer, relax. Hope you enjoy this so far. Keep half an eye out for if I actually do come back and decide to weld it.